Lesson 3, Home Language Teaching for the Grade 3s, and it is about shared reading. Plan a lesson that you will teach in Grade 3 class. You will have to start your lesson by pasting a picture on the board and developing an interesting story together with the learners. Let the learners interpret and analyze the picture. Write the keywords that come up as you discuss with the learners. Teach learners that the story has an introduction, a body, and a conclusion, like a lesson too. After discussing the story, do the following. Divide the learners into groups. Give each group of these learners another picture to discuss. Allow the learners to share ideas and create an interesting, simple story. Provide the learners with a template for story development. Let them write the story using this frame below. The writing frame is introduction, body, conclusion. Importantly, attach at least completed learner stories. Lesson 4, Resource Development 2601, Micro Teaching Practice in Grade 3. The instruction reads, download JRES Math Science 2013, the journal, it says there. Read the paragraph below. Children are constantly developing their listening and speaking skills, not only to each of the components of language, but also during other subjects. Because listening and speaking are crucial to all learning, it is important that these skills are effectively developed early in a child's academic life. Hence, in the foundation phase, there is time specifically dedicated to the development of these two important skills. The time allocation for listening and speaking provides for, number one, the time spent at the beginning of the day, and number two, focused listening and speaking activities. Each morning should begin with a brief whole class oral activity with the children. Use this time to do the following. Talk about the day, date, the weather chart, children who have birthdays, and any special events of the day. Check the attendance. Take a roll call to identify children present or absent. Hear a few children share their news. Show and tell about a picture or object. Talk about the diary, sports, concerts, topical events, and storytelling. Try to listen to every child's news at least once every 2 weeks. Choose a reading topic and develop reading resources. Introduce the lesson in 3 different ways in a grade 3 class using different resources. Conclude the lesson in 3 different ways using different sources. This is a standing one. Take note. Practice under the guidance of your mentor teacher. Use the lesson plan template provided to plan your lesson. Attach photos of any two. Sorry, this is not of paper packet. This is a mistake. Please leave this out. Where it is at the bottom, leave it out, please. Okay, lesson 5, inclusive education in the foundation phase. This is our last lesson for grade 3s. In this activity, you are required to design a mathematics lesson, a lesson plan on geometrical patterns for grade 3 learners. Use the multi-level teaching approach to respond to diverse learning needs and ability levels. In your lesson, make sure that you outline your aim and learning outcomes in detail and adapt the content to the following levels: abstractness, variety, and competency, complexity, okay? Also outline the lecturer's differentiated activities and how you will assess them. Design a rubric or checklist that will guide you to assess the learners. From your lesson, write all the problems or difficulties that you have identified that learners experience. Use the template provided for your lesson plan. Please note the following. The activities should be structured as follows. Activity 1.1, you'll be required to design a face-to-face mathematics lesson plan on geometric patterns for grade 3 learners. For activity 1.2, this is about using multi-level teaching method to teach the lesson design, and also you're required to show different activities that will be used to accommodate these diverse needs of learners. Activity 1.3, this is about identifying problems that some of the learners might experience. You have to use a checklist to identify the problems that the learners must use. The learners must experience. You need to use the following sources as a point of reference as you prepare for these activities: your study guide for IFP 3701, your CAPS document, and also the link that is provided for you. Now, I am going to take you through the lesson plan. This is where students lose a lot of marks. Kindly note the following. Every single segment or section of the lesson plan must be filled in. Here, for every mistake you commit, we deduct marks. You lose marks. The less mistakes you make, the less marks will be deducted. The many mistakes you make, the more marks will be deducted from you. We are not window dressing. This is not just a matter of ticking boxes. Go into the class and teach, but before you teach, you must complete your lesson plan. Prepare in advance as a good teacher. What are you supposed to do? Complete the student number and name. Complete the grade and the date. Write the content area. Write what the subject is. Indicate here if it's a class lesson, a group work, outdoor or field work. Write the theme of the week. Write the name of the school. Write the name of the teacher. Outcomes. What are the learners able to do? Complete that. Concepts and new knowledge of lesson from the curriculum. What is the new knowledge that you are imparting to the learners on this particular day? Write it in detail. Differentiation provided, enrichment, learner support, and concerns. Remember, in your module IFP 3701, you were taught about differentiation. How do you teach the different levels of learners in your classrooms? The most intelligent ones, the average ones, and the ones who take long to understand, the slow ones. You should have activities for all the types of learners that you have in your classroom. And this is what you have to explain here, right? Lesson presentation. How did you introduce your lesson? By now, you should know that. You should know that you start from prior knowledge. What the learners know, making them comfortable, making them confident and courageous to partake in the lesson. Then you gradually come to the body of the lesson. So your introduction should basically be prior knowledge. Don't write and say prior knowledge, please. You should say what the prior knowledge is. It could be in a form of a song, and not any song, a song which relates to the content of the lesson. It could be in the form of a recitation, a rhyme, but all should be related to the content of the lesson. The body of the lesson is the new content knowledge, the new information that you are teaching the learners. Consolidation or conclusion of the lesson. Do not just abruptly conclude the lesson. How do you consolidate the lesson? How do you recap what you are teaching the learners? And what are you using to emphasize what you were teaching the learners? You can do that in a picture of a work, or of a worksheet, of a poem, of a song, of a rhyme also, right? Assessment. In this section, you are requested or required to do the following. Which form of assessment did you use for your learners? Did you use self-assessment, peer assessment, or teacher assessment? Did you pair the lessons to do or to complete an activity? Is there any evidence of inclusion? Inclusion, we go back to differentiated learning or differentiation. Did you only concentrate on those learners who can't stop talking, whose hands are up even if they are saying the wrong thing? Or are you also drawing in that reserved learner who is sitting quietly or shyly there? How did you include all the learners in your class to participate? Type of activity. You must indicate, was it participation? Was it written work? Was it demonstrations? Were you using models like collage, artwork, or construction? Which strategy did you use when you were assessing or teaching? Did you use questioning, or did you make the learners just listen? Did you use observation or writing or reading or interpretation, reviewing? Did you make them watch a video, or did you give them a listening comprehension? You need to indicate all these things. Failure to do so means you are losing more marks. Assessment instrument. Which assessment instrument did you use? Did you use a checklist, an assessment scale, an analytical rubric, interpreting rubric, or any other? If it's other, please mention which one. Now, student reflection. It is you. After teaching this lesson or conducting this lesson, when you reflect, don't just write good lesson. What are the good things that you have learned? What are things that you will do, which you will do better next time if you are provided with an opportunity to give the lesson? What can you improve? What can you leave as is? Resources. You may add pages here for resources. Which resources did you use? Please, some of you students, repeat resources. You will use a resources for lesson 1 in grade 2, lesson 2, lesson 3. No, be creative. Use different resources to show that you are a really creative teacher. Now, it is important that this section be filled or completed by your school-based mentor, your classroom-based mentor, the mentor who was in the classroom when you were teaching. By the way, every time you teach, the mentor teacher must be there because they are mentoring you on how to prepare and present a lesson successfully. Okay. The teacher is asked this question. If the mentor teacher did not complete this, unfortunately, it's got a negative impact on you as the student. You lose marks. For any section of the mentor or teacher evaluation template which is not completed, you lose marks. How did you assist the student with the planning? See, you are not on your own. The mentor teacher is there to guide you, to assist you, to support you. When did the student provide the completed lesson plan to you? Before or after the lesson? Advice to you, student. Before you go and teach the lesson, go to your mentor teacher, run it by her or him, if there's a him in the foundation phase, run it by them, please. Go through all the sections so that they can correct you. But uncooperative students are those who will give a lesson and after presenting the lesson will go to the mentor teacher and say, check my lesson plan. That is wrong. Remember, you are a guest. They are your hosts. Be humble. Don't be arrogant. Let the teacher see your work before you teach. So she or he can correct you before you present the lesson. Right? Planning. Questions to be answered, right? Outcomes. Were the outcomes achieved? The answer could be any of the 4 by ticking. Not achieved, almost achieved, achieved, or excellent. Concepts and new knowledge of the lesson. Were the concepts and new knowledge explained? And there are 2 things asked there. So your mentor teacher should write a comment, whatever the comment can be, and also tick the box. Differentiation provided enrichment, learner support, and consents. Were the types of questions posed accommodative to learners with different learning abilities? You see, that IFP 3701 is key. It is important because you will apply those concepts in each and every lesson. And here, the mentor will comment whether you use differentiation or enrichment and also tick the correct box. Lesson presentation. Lesson introduction of lessons. Was the introduction relevant? Please, every introduction, even the song you sing, should relate to the lesson that you are going to present. The school-based or classroom-based mentor will then tell us here whether that was done or not. Was the introduction interesting and did it capture the learner's attention? That's the mentor who is completing this. Was prior knowledge included? They will answer yes or no and tick. Was the lesson content aligned with the learning outcomes? comment and tick the correct box. That's your mentor teacher. You don't do it for them. That would be fraud. Was the lesson learner-centered? Did you concentrate on the learners? Or were you too nervous talking to yourself or to the board instead of talking to the learners? Experience is the best teacher. Practice, 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 practice. You know what? When you are at home planning the lesson, talk to the furniture in your bedroom or wherever you will be preparing. Pretend those furniture items are people. That's where you will practice and be eloquent, right? So that when you stand in front of those grade 3s or grade 1s, grade Rs, grade 2s, you do an excellent thing. Confidence. Were the activities appropriate for the grade? Was the lesson learner-centered? Did the students use rhymes, poems, songs, listening comprehension activity, or any other activity to consolidate the lesson, to re-impress the lesson, to reaffirm what you were teaching? Conclusion. Was the lesson integrated with the other subjects? Did you link it to maths, to life skills, to reading, or which is literacy? That is important. Again, what type of assessment was used in the lesson? Your mentor teacher must tick which one, right? Type of activity. Was it participation, written work, demonstrations, or models? Strategy method. Did you use questioning? Did your student use questioning, listening, writing, observation, reading, interpreting, reviewing, or watching a video? There must be a tick. Everything which is not ticked or completed, it's a loss of marks. Don't come back and say, I did everything. I don't understand why I failed. You failed because you did not complete all the sections of the lesson plan, as well as you did not ensure that your mentor teacher completes all the sections of the teacher or mentor evaluation. Don't wait until the last week or the last few days for them to do it. Every day after you have taught for these 25 days, ensure that the classroom-based mentor completes the mentor evaluation form. In that manner, your mentor teachers will not feel overwhelmed because you do it regularly, right? Was it the most suitable strategy using strategies? Were the learners actively involved? The assessment instrument, which assessment instrument did you use? Were the assessment instruments used appropriate for the grade? Don't come with high school stuff for foundation phase. You are a foundation phase teacher, and everything should be appropriate for a foundation phase learner. Was inclusivity visible in the use of these instruments? Inclusion, inclusion, inclusion is key. Mentor reflection. It is important that the teacher tells you the truth, the mentor teacher. Don't be angry with them when they say to you, Anita, you did wrong here and here. You need to improve. You are not there to boss it over the teachers or regard them as old school. They are experienced. Allow them to guide you and to mentor you. That's how you will learn to be a good teacher. Get constructive feedback. We are not here, or they are not there to nurse your ego. If you did not do right, you did not. And remember, you are a guest. They are going to remain with these learners. So do the right thing. Be a pleasant guest. Be enjoyable as a guest. Be pleasant as a guest. And get constructive feedback from your school-based or classroom-based mentors. Resources. This is the mentor checking you. Were the resources suitable for the lesson? Yes or no? Were the resources visible to the learners? Don't come with a resource as small or the size of your cell phone. The bigger the resource, the better. It must be visible to all the learners. Maybe some children have got a challenge with their eyesight. So the bigger the resources, the better. And also, don't stand in front of the children and whisper. Have a teacher's voice. You can also hear from my voice that I'm a teacher. I don't need a microphone. No, your voice must be loud, but not too loud to disturb the next class. Loud enough for the learner who is at the back to hear. Where the resources used enhance the learning of the new content of the lesson. Don't just bring pictures which are irrelevant. Every resource that you bring must be relevant. And then the mentor must write her name. You don't write for the mentor. The mentor must write her own name and sign. If you do it on their behalf, that's fraud. It's not a true reflection. Here is another issue. Attendance register. Here, attendance register of student teacher at school. In this attendance register, dear students, if your assignment 2 doesn't have a register, it's a fail. Your portfolio 50 must have the full 5-week register. Without it, you fail. Your portfolio 51 must have a full 5-week attendance register. Without it, you fail. Now listen, it says here, only authentic signatures are accepted. No cutting and pasting of signatures. If this form is not signed, you will get a 0 for the entire portfolio. By the way, getting a 0 means you fail. Now, you write your full name and surname, your student number, the name of the school where you conducted your teaching practice, the address of the school where you conducted your teaching practice, the cell phone number, as well as the email address of the school. Week 1, it's grade R. When we say date, we say the day, the month, and the year. Do not write the day and the month and no year. If there is no year, you fail. We don't even mark the portfolio. A portfolio without an attendance register, you get a 0, we don't mark it. A portfolio with an incomplete attendance register, we do not mark it. It's an immediate fail. You write there the day, the month, the year, grade R, your signature as a student, then the mentor teacher signs. They have to append their signature. The same with week 2, week 3, week 4, And week 5, day, month, year, the grade, the student signature, signature of the mentor teacher. Now here, the principal, head of department, or teacher of this school, okay, they will indicate which one they are there. Whether it's the principal or the head of department, they will highlight which one they are, or the teacher, they write their name. You don't write for them, please. The name of the school confirms that Marietta van der Merwe has attended her full teaching practice period. It's the signature of the person, be it the principal, if they indicated the principal, or the head of department or the teacher, the signature, the date, and then the school stamp. Now, let me explain about the school stamp. There are some schools which have got stamps, but the stamps do not have a date. So once they have stamped your portfolio, they should write the date, the day, the month, the year. Here, attach proof of placement from the teaching practice office. Do not attach the email. Proof of placement or confirmation letter writes your name in full, who you are, your student number, and will also indicate placed at such a school for during this period from this day of this month and year until this day of this month and year at this school for teaching practice, and will also indicate a total number of days. For you, it has to be 25 days. If such a thing is not there, my dear student, you fail. Let's avoid that. UNISA supervisor evaluation. Now, let me go here. After this, you can also place the supervisor report if you received a supervisor sent by UNISA, not by me. In your tutorial letter 102, this tutorial letter 102 was generated by the teaching practice office. There is a vast difference between me, your academic lecturer, and the teaching practice office. The teaching practice office is a different office from the Department of Early Childhood Education, where you are doing your B.ED Foundation Phase. The teaching practice office is responsible for placing you in a school, for providing you with a placement letter or confirmation letter, for allocating a supervisor for you. So do not write to me and say my supervisor did not come. No. In your tutorial letter 102, there is a section which gives you all the names of the administrators or coordinators of teaching practice for each province, even you of the SADC countries and international students. There are people who are responsible for you. Their telephone numbers are there, as well as their email addresses. Kindly contact them when you start your teaching practice, not at the end of your teaching practice. When you start your teaching practice, contact them, the teaching practice office, and inquire about your supervisor. If after all that you have done, right? After all that you have done, there was no supervisor allocated to you, then your school-based mentor, there I've written, to be completed by the school-based mentor if the external moderator is not allocated. But now they are allocated and it is written there. Please do the right thing. It's for your own sake. Don't be lazy because you want to pass cum laude. There your UNISA supervisor will write. If they didn't, then your school-based mentor will complete this. Dear students, in closing, I would like to quote this from George St. Pierre. When you pay attention to detail, the big picture will take care of itself. When you pay attention to every detail, which I have explained over an hour and 20 minutes ago, when you pay attention to everything that I said in this recording, you will succeed. Do everything correctly. Pay attention to the detail and let the big picture of the completed portfolio take care of itself. With those words, I would like to wish you all the best in your studies for 2023. Furthermore, do not tire to go to or to visit your module site. Interact with other students. I have created forums for you to interact. Ask me questions. I will also respond to questions there. Don't go to illegal platforms like you say, the Telegram of our students, our group. It is not an official platform. It is your platform there. If there's anything else you want to hear, please post it on the module platform, on the module site, please, in the forum which I created, and I will answer you. And I know other students do also answer. I wish you well. May 2023 be a successful year for you. Thank you and goodbye.